execute Order 66.
Let's see, 63, 64, 68. Yeah, I don't think we have 66.
What do you mean we don't have 66?
Remember when they asked us what channels we want and what that was the premium package, and you were like, we got a Death Star coming. We don't want to put this premium package in. Got to cut costs somewhere. We didn't get number 66. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the review. You've been looking for our Star Wars in review. My name is Kyle, your host. Welcome to Project Potter, guys. Welcome back, guys. Last week we did, of course, Attack of the Clones, and we're finishing up the prequel trilogy here, guys, with Revenge of the Sith, Episode 3. This is sort of how Anakin becomes Vader, well, directly how he becomes Vader, and it's kind of a messy story. If you haven't seen the series before, guys, we just go over kind of my quick thoughts on the movie, my favorite character, my least favorite character, score to 10, and the rankings, of course. Kicking it off here, guys, with Revenge of the Sith. The Clone Wars have begun, as Yoda said last time, or begun the Clone Wars have. We get a new character introduced, General Grievous, and General Grievous is supposed to be a badass, but he's just kind of like a bitch. And he just runs away, and there's a cough, and I looked it up why he has a cough, because he's a robot, and he has a natural set of lungs or something, and that's the only part natural about him, and he's got some sort of disease in his lungs. I don't know. It's really dumb, dude. Either have him be a human or with an arm, like a robot arm, like Anakin does and like Luke does eventually, or have him be a full robot. And he's 99% robot, but you gave him a coughing disease. I don't know. That's the first of many issues with this movie. We also get Anakin's drastic turn to the dark side. Anakin and Obi-Wan are just like this at the beginning of the movie. They're just good now. And it's like, what? He's like, Anakin, don't worry. He's like, you're good. He's like, I trust you and everything. And it's like, where is this coming from, dude? Council eventually tells Anakin, hey, you're going to be on the council, but we do not grant you the rank of master. And Anakin's pissed, and he's like, what the hell? He's like, this is insulting. This has never happened in the Jedi history. And Obi-Wan's telling him, well, they're interested in Palpatine more than you, because Chancellor Palpatine has befriended you. Anakin keeps going to see him, and it's like, Anakin's so easily swayed to the dark side, dude, where it's like Palpatine is like, have I ever told you the story of Darth Plagueis the Wise? And he tells him the story about how this guy can save others from death using the dark side of the Force, but he's like he taught everything to his apprentice. Apprentice killed him in his sleep, so he's like, it's ironic because he could save everyone else but not himself. And Anakin just believes that story. Palpatine keeps putting these seeds of doubt in his mind about the Jedi Council, and he's like, the Jedi and the Sith aren't very different. They both want power. They're both selfless. And it's just and Anakin just takes the bait every time, dude. And it's like, come on, man, you're supposed to be a Jedi master. Why aren't you haven't been listening to anything Obi-Wan told you? And suddenly Palpatine is the dark side's pretty cool too. And he's like, I guess so. And it's it just felt weak to me, how quickly he was just okay. And he blames it on wanting to be with Padme and saying he can't live without Padme. And he's like, I had a vision. And just like when my mom died, in the vision that came true, this is the same thing where you die in childbirth, which we know eventually comes true for kind of a weird reason at the end there. We'll get into that, guys. Also, I think for a lot of my reviews, I say we'll get into something and then we just never get into something. But I promise you that we will talk about Padme's death before this review is up. So the whole movie is a back and forth with Anakin starting to doubt the Jedi Council, which I think is good. I think it's a good story plot. Anakin is still working for the Council, and they're like, hey, we just want you to spy on Palpatine. He's like, that's treason. And they're like, it's war, dude. We need you to do something. And so Anakin is we think he's leaning towards Palpatine, but then he tells Mace Windu, he says hey, I think Palpatine is a Sith Lord. And he's like, a Sith Lord? He's like, are you sure? He's like, oh yeah, dude. He's like, he's got a lot of dark powers. He's like, if you heard some of the stories he told me. And Mace is like, okay, if that's true, I will trust you. But he's like, stay here. Because he's like, no, I need to come with you. He's like, no, you are clouded. You have a lot of doubt and fear, and that leads to the dark side. And I'm like, okay, good reason to keep Anakin home there. And Mace is like, I'll take care of this. He takes 4 Jedis with him. Dude, 2 of the Jedis he has with him, get fucking wrecked by Palpatine. Chancellor Palpatine, not Emperor Palpatine. I know they probably have the same power, but they go to arrest him, and he's like, oh, so it's treason. And then Palpatine's like, ah, and he's like, put his tongue out and doing flips and shit. And I'm like, what is this? Two of the Jedi that are with Mace, Palpatine just like stabs them right in the heart. And I'm like, oh, okay. They're just down like 2 seconds, and Mace puts up a good fight, and he actually like cuts off. I think he cuts Palpatine's arm off, or he cuts off, like he disarms him, so he loses his lightsaber out the window. He has Palpatine down, and he's got his lightsaber to him. And then like Anakin got impatient, and he like went to the scene. Palpatine is like, look, Anakin, see, they're betraying him, and like they need to stop him or whatever. And then Palpatine does the lightning thing where he goes, unlimited power. Mace is like reflecting all of it. It's going back into Palpatine's face and like fucking him up and making his face all fucked up. And that's how he becomes like Emperor Palpatine. But I'm like, how is that not killing you, dude? It's like he's almost like absorbing it. And when he's like, oh, I'm so weak, and he like pretends to be weak and then stops the lightning. And then Mace is like, oh, we have to kill him. And Anakin's like, no, he has to stand trial. That's not the Jedi way. And I'm like, okay, so you can see that Anakin is he's still got good in it. Padme says at the end, and of course we find out in the original trilogy before this, obviously, that Luke gets to Vader at the end there and saves him. Even though Anakin is going down the dark side, right here, he's like, yo, he needs a trial. Windu is like, he's too dangerous to be left alive. And he's right, dude. Because he's like, if he goes to trial, he controls the Senate and he controls the courts. He's basically like, dude, he's putting himself on trial, essentially. And so he's going to go kill him, but he like lets up. And then Palpatine is like, just kidding. And he uses power. And then Windu goes out the building and presumably dies. And we haven't seen Mace Windu, but wouldn't be surprised if he comes back somehow, because it's never like confirmed. There's no funeral for Mace or whatever. That's when we get the cool scene of him like saying like rise as Darth Vader and all that stuff. But it's so weird because Anakin, like, you think he would be like, nah, fucking kill Palpatine, dude. Palpatine says like, oh, like, remember, I have the power to save Padme. Like, you got to learn that from me. And then I'm surprised Mace wasn't just like, dude, I think he says like, don't listen to him or whatever, but you think Anakin would just be like, no, dude, I'm going to listen to Mace, but he's already doubting the council at that point. So I like that story thread. But actually, like right after that, where Palpatine goes execute Order 66 and to Commander Cody or whatever, and it's a bunch of Temoras again. And I'm like, it's still pretty cool. All the clones turn on them. And I thought this was like an inhibitor chip that was installed in them in Attack of the Clones, which is why they do it. But then there's also theories that like, they're just following orders and they regret doing it, Order 66. But it seems kind of weird because they fought alongside all of the Jedi. So I like the theory of the inhibitor chip, like that it's forcing them to like kill everything, because if they were just like, oh, well, it's the orders, I think that would be dumb, because it's like, we fought battles alongside these Jedi Masters. Why would we just shoot them down now and kill all the Jedi? The last like hour of this movie is really cool. This movie's kind of split into two parts, where the first hour I think is kind of a slog and slow, and I found myself pretty bored with it. And then the second half is like, after Order 66, it's really cool because we get to see kind of obviously, tragically, most of the Jedi Masters die, but then like Yoda, Jimmy Smith's character survive, and then we see like Tarful and Chewie, obviously, and Yoda says like, I have to go into exile. He faces off with Palpatine, although it's weird because he's just doing that thing like, that weird like thing again, and they're going through and they have a goofy fight. But then the highlight of this movie, guys, is of course the Obi-Wan versus Anakin fight. And it's just sad because it seems kind of extreme, but Padme goes there and, you know, Anakin obviously kills the younglings. Master Skywalker, he's like, there's too many of them. What should we do? And then Anakin's like, and he's just like, oh, shit. They go to Mustafar, which is like a lava planet, of course, for this fight. And it's a cool fight, but it's so sad because Padme says like, Anakin, I can't go down this path that you're going down. I can't support you in this. And she's like crying, and it's really good at acting by Natalie Portman because it's really sad. And she's like, dude, I loved you. She's like, all I want is your love. She's like, we can still go away. And I think either Obi-Wan says it or Anakin knows, like, he's like, dude, I've like, I can't just go away. I've murdered hundreds of people, including like the younglings. So like, he's got to face his crimes basically. So there's no turning back. So he's gone like full dark side. And there's the great scene, you know, where Obi-Wan and Anakin, they're going through. Anakin says like, I knew the Jedi were going to overtake us. He's like, Anakin, Palpatine is pure evil. And he's like, no, the Jedi are evil. And he's like, if you really do believe that, then you truly are lost. And it's like, damn, dude. Like, where Obi-Wan's like, I just got to do what I got to do. Because at first he's like, I don't want to kill Anakin. I can't kill Anakin. He's telling Yoda that. And Yoda's like, dude, that's a bad dude. He says, the boy you trained is gone. And it's like, man, it's so sad because it's like he's gone full dark side now. We get the scene where Obi-Wan goes up there and he goes, "It's over, Anakin. I have the high ground." And he's like, "You underestimate my power." And he's like, "Don't try it." And he goes over there and he's like, "Oh, dude." And he just like easily cuts him down. And it's just really sad because he's like laying there and he's near the lava, of course, but Obi-Wan is just like, "You are my brother, Anakin." And it's a really sad scene, actually. And he's like, "You're the chosen one." He's like, "You were supposed to destroy the Sith, not join them." Like, man, he's just looking at him like a sad, like a disappointed parent. And he just like starts walking away. And then Anakin's like, "I hate you." And it's like, it's just really sad because his eyes are all messed up and he's so consumed by the dark side. And obviously he's in extreme pain. And then the lava comes up and his whole body catches on fire. And Obi-Wan's like, "Ooh." I think this is the same thing where like he's too dangerous to be left alive, where Obi-Wan wants to help him. He wants to save him and rehabilitate him, but he knows that he's lost. And so he's looking there. And even when he catches on fire, instead of trying to put it out or something, he's like, "Anakin is done, dude." But it's just so sad because he loved him like a brother, like he said. And so to see him literally burning alive is like, he's like, "Oh my God." And he's like, I just got to walk away. And somehow Anakin survives that. I don't know how, maybe because he's so in touch with the Force or whatever, but his whole body obviously gets burnt up. Obi-Wan and Padme, who's unconscious, and C-3PO leave. And then Padme goes to deliver the babies. Emperor Palpatine finds Anakin, but I don't know how they found. He's like, "Oh, it's him." And I was like, "How did you recognize him, dude? His whole body is burnt. He's missing limbs. Like, there's no way that you would know that that's Anakin." He would have been walking by and just like, "Oh, that's that guy was having a rough day over there." And then obviously we get the really cool scene of like him becoming Vader. It's really tragic too because Padme is like screaming in pain as she delivers Luke and Leia. And at the same time, Anakin is being brought back to, or nursed back to health. He's like clinging to health. And then they're like putting the legs on him and the arm, and he's just screaming. And obviously he's got severe burns on his face. And they see that really cool shot of the helmet coming down, and his face is all burned and he's like, can barely move. And it's really crazy. And then we get the slow breathing, which is really awesome. And then he's like, "Where's Padme?" And Palpatine's like, "You killed her in your anger." And he's like, "What? No, I knew she was alive." And then she obviously ends up dying from the lack of will to live, which, oh my God, dude, the dumbest thing. I mean, it's so weird because it's like, "Hey, Padme, you had a bad relationship, okay? You have 2 kids. The father's not in the picture. You know what, man? We all have bad breakups, okay? We all have bad relationships. Hey, raise those kids or send those kids off. It's okay. You can find someone else, Padme." But she's like, "I've lost the will to live." But then she says that there's still good in him. I know it. You lost the will to live because you kind of like were betrayed by Anakin and you loved him. And it's like, oh man, I'm heartbroken. But then you also admit that there's good in him still. So it's like, don't you think that you would like survive or either try to reach him in the future or like just move on and like have Obi-Wan deal with it? I don't know. Like, "Oh, she's completely healthy. She's just lost the will to live." And I'm like, that's kind of, I don't know about that. But anyway, guys, that is kind of how the movie ends. But the Force is strong with this one, which is my favorite character. That's going to be Master Yoda for me. Yoda is awesome in this movie. He not only fights Palpatine, he like faces off against him. All of the lightning, he like takes it and he like throws it back. Order 66 troops turn on him and he like senses it and then gets out of the way and beheads them. That's the second straight review I've said deheads, guys. I don't know what's going on. Yoda is really, really cool. He like executes the plan and then he tries to save everyone, but he tells Jimmy Smith's character at the end, he's like, "Oh man," he's like, "I have to go in exile, dude." And then obviously he goes to Dagobah for 20 years before Luke comes there and sees him. And it's just like, it's so sad because they know that they failed. And it's like, wow. And Palpatine and Vader are both super powerful. We do get that awesome shot at the end I didn't mention, guys, with the very beginning of the Death Star, the first Death Star being constructed, and Palpatine and Vader looking at it. And I think Tarkin might have been there too. I'm not sure. But that's a really, really awesome shot. It's like, man, that's just like a power duo right there. And then kind of sets up the whole original trilogy, obviously. But the fact that the Jedi have lost, and it's like this idea that there's like literally 3 Jedi left potentially. And then obviously Luke and Leia come along, but like, you know, Leia's not a Jedi right away. And then Luke obviously isn't until Obi-Wan trains him. And there is also a cool shout out where Yoda tells Obi-Wan, he's like, "Hey, there's some training on Tatooine." And he's like, "Oh yeah, like what?" And he's like, "Oh, well, Qui-Gon Jinn found out how to be a Force ghost. And he's like, what? And he's like, yeah, you're going to learn how to do that or talk to him. So that's really cool little Easter egg there. Yoda is just awesome in every sense of the word in this movie. And I think he's my favorite character. Okay, guys, there was no try, which is my least favorite character. It's General Grievous, dude. I forgot he was even in this freaking movie. When the credits rolled, I was like thinking back about the recap, and I was like, oh yeah, General Grievous was in this. He has that stupid coughing problem. Supposed to be really cool. He's like just way too goofy for this movie, where he's like, your lightsabers will be nice added to my collection. And then he's spinning the lightsabers, and that's like a cool moment. But then Obi-Wan with one lightsaber just like easily disarms him. He's just like, oh, okay, you have 4 lightsabers, cut off your arm. And then he's like throws 2 at him at once. And then instead he's like going up against him. I was just like, dude, General Grievous, and he like runs away all the time. And one thing I didn't talk about, guys, which I hated in this movie, is when Obi-Wan rides this giant like creature that's like, Rawr! And he keeps making this annoying sound. And that's like, he spends so much time on there before Order 66, and Grievous is like going on again on this huge tire, almost looks like Thanos' ship from Infinity War, against Obi-Wan on this creature that keeps making that stupid sound. And I was like, oh my god, dude, way too much of this. But yeah, Grievous was just like a coward, and just this character that should have been like much cooler. But then like, I'm sorry, but you can't tell me he's a cool character when he's just coughing the whole time. That's the dumbest side effect I've ever heard of, dude. General Grievous got COVID now in Star Wars. Like, what's going on here? It's so dumb, dude. Like, give him anything else, but don't just have him like coughing like someone who's just sick in their mid-40s, like walking around. It's easily, I think, my least favorite character. Okay, guys, that brings us to a score. This is a 7.5. Honestly, I almost put this a little bit lower, but because of some of the cool moments like Order 66 happening, and then just kind of everything that falls out from that, Anakin's turn to the dark side, interactions between Obi-Wan and Anakin are really cool. I gave it a little higher up, but this movie has a lot of flaws, and it's slow, and Anakin is like pretty easily duped into the dark side, and Palpatine is like so obviously a Sith Lord, and then the Jedi Council doesn't figure it out. And then when they send 4 Jedi to take him on, 2 of them just go down easily with Mace, and then Mace has a chance to kill him, obviously. And what Mace should have done is killed him and then said, Anakin, he was too dangerous to be left alive. And then Anakin was like, yeah, I guess you're right. He was a pretty bad dude. And it's like, but instead he's like, I don't know. I don't trust you, Mace Windu. And it's just weird because Anakin's like on the fence this whole time, but then he just goes full dark side. And it's like, okay, it doesn't, because of that one incident, I don't really understand that. But Anakin's way too obsessed with saving Padme. But then like, he's like, oh, I have the power to save you. I can save you. I can save you from death. But then it's never like explicitly said that like he doesn't like prove that he has a power like that. Like he doesn't like kill someone and then go, or someone's dying and he goes, oh, let me like force heal them or whatever. It doesn't make any sense. And it's like, it's just like a vague idea. And so, yeah, this movie just kind of just a messy storyline. And despite some really cool moments, I think it's just kind of a middle of the pack movie. Okay, guys, that brings us to the rankings here. So far, guys, we have number 1, we have Return of the Jedi with a 9.8. Number 2, we have A New Hope, 9.6. Number 3, Empire Strikes Back at 9.2. Number 4, Attack of the Clones at an 8.3. This one slots in at the new number 5, guys, with a 7.5. And then we have The Phantom Menace with a 7.1, rounding out the rankings, guys. It's still better than Phantom Menace, but I enjoyed Attack of the Clones a lot more last time. And I thought about putting it below Phantom Menace, but Phantom Menace is just like so much political stuff where I'm just like, oh my god, dude. Like this was slow, but at least I could like, once it started going, I was like, okay, this isn't like terrible. And there are some really cool moments, and I like how they send Luke back to Tatooine at the end, and they put Leia with Jimmy Smith's character, split them up because they want them to be secret, or they don't want them to like just track down both Luke and Leia and just like slaughter them. So not enough to make up for, I think, poor pacing and just kind of a messy story or just convenient plot points. But this one, yeah, guys, number 5 out of 6 on our list. Okay, guys, that's it. That's another episode of the review I'm looking for. Thanks for checking out the channel, guys. This has been our review, or my review, I should say, of Revenge of the Sith, episode 3. That finishes up the prequel trilogy, guys. And then I have to think about what we're going to be doing next, if we're going to be doing release order or if we're going to jump into something like Solo or maybe even Rogue One. I'll take a look there, guys. But next week, stay tuned. Appreciate you guys stopping by. Like, comment, subscribe if you did like the content. Until next time, guys, you are my brother, Anakin. I love to.